Recording delays a little bit, so while everybody's getting situated and
so we'll wait and see.
I'm glad that our internet connection is good.
We can just vamp for a minute. I think we're probably. Yeah, me too. I know. I worry about that every day. It always drops off at the worst possible time. But Ann, I think you're good to go. I'm just going to get Facebook up on my phone.
All right.
Okay, awesome.
So go for it.
All right, so I'm just going to introduce our guest today. This is Ramona Harvey, who's a Passionista that we interviewed a while ago, and we've kept in touch with. She's an amazing, inspirational person. Ramona used to work in consumer research, but she left her job to help people identify their path and find their true purpose in life. She's a happiness coach, and she helps people navigate the path of happiness. And so in the midst of this crazy time, we couldn't think of somebody more appropriate to have on the show, because I think we all need a little happiness. We all need to use this time to find the positivity within the negative and to transform ourselves, because this is the opportunity to find our passions and make the life that we want to lead after this all is over. So we're going to talk today about the importance of connection and the importance of all these great tools that we have available to us, like what we're doing right now. So please welcome to the show, Ramona Harvey.
Nice to see you. I'm so excited to talk to you guys again. I think it's been like over a year since we talked live.
I think it has. Yep.
Yeah.
That went fast, didn't it?
That was a quick year.
Yes. And you guys are continuing to do this.
What was one of the highlights of your last year since we talked, Ramona?
Oh my goodness. Let's see. The first one that comes to mind is just kind of settling into my coaching business, which kind of, you guys know, I started with just doing research and just like doing research for a long time, because I'm a researcher at core, and actually starting to coach people in kind of more just more of an organized way. And now I have a couple of corporate clients, and now I got into leadership coaching as well. And just kind of bringing those kind of happiness tools into the workplace as well has been really exciting for me. So now I coach people from Europe, people from the East Coast, all over. Yeah. So it's just kind of like a whole new thing. And I'm just really excited to see this new area that I really didn't necessarily think I was going to move into.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We have people who are joining us. I want to say hi to everybody, and I want everybody to say hi to each other, because you all know each other from what I can tell so far. And say hi to Ramona. You guys are going to love Ramona. Everybody could use a dose of Ramona right now.
Who's here,
No
Amy?
pressure.
We have Aileen Davis.
Hey, Aileen.
We have Diane Newman-Gray. We have Lisa Barbosa.
Hello.
More people I think people might tune in a little late because we've been a little late because of technical problems last couple
But we actually started on time today. Yay.
We did. We got it down. Figuring out the Facebook Live.
I'm so impressed that you guys are doing this.
You know, it felt like one of the only ways to work together, because for us, the hardest part of this has been we can't see each other. It's been
what are we going on 3 weeks now, Amy?
And about 3 weeks since we've seen each other.
Oh my goodness!
It's the longest we've gone.
I think that's the longest since I've moved to LA that we've been apart.
For sure.
I was just imagining you guys are in different rooms or something.
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people think we're like these crazy old cat ladies who live together, and it's like, no, Nancy's married. I have a boyfriend. We actually have separate houses. But everybody's like, it's so great you're together. We're like,
it's so great. It is great that you're together. Now you're adding more to the story. You're together and you have your own life. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's true. And so we started to do this partly so we could just like connect with each other, and then we were like, all right, we should do it. We should just do Facebook Live. We can do this.
That is awesome that you're doing this. It's really fantastic, and I think this connection, it's been one of the things that I've been really loving, doing kind of the same thing that you guys are doing that I maybe didn't. Yeah, I didn't do this before. I didn't really have like virtual happy hours with friends, and now that's the thing. It's like all of a sudden that is the thing, and I'm connecting with people that I didn't used to. You know, we were so much more busy commuting like 2 weeks ago than we are now. So yeah,
it's so great that we have
we're like setting up,
yeah, it's
we're setting up Facebook Lives with our family. our brother and our sisters who, we talk to on a regular basis, but we're like, why aren't we seeing each other face to face? Why don't we Zoom? And I just scheduled a reunion today with 3 friends who were my dear friends when I first moved to LA 30 years ago, whatever long ago that was. We're all going to get on and Zoom together. It's like, oh my God, this is great. So it's a good way to
doing this. I was talking to a group of friends yesterday, fellow coaches, and one of them said that she has happy hours like at 8 p.m. with her family every single night. And, she wasn't doing that before. She's like, before I was going up, and I would maybe talk to my parents sometimes. And now like her and her siblings and her parents are all having a happy hour at 8 p.m. And it's just kind of amazing to hear this from so many people. Now we're really connecting with people. Like I'm connecting with people and, friends I've lost touch with in Romania, in Germany, in England. I have a friend in Thailand. It's incredible.
Yeah. How is your family? How is your international family?
Yeah, it's interesting. Everyone, I'm noticing how, depending on the situation and life stage and all those things and personal circumstances, like how people are experiencing it. So like my dad, who's alone right now, he lives in the countryside in Romania, and so he kind of to some extent, he was always to some extent isolated, I would say, but then also really connected with people. Like they get together with, like he has his friends and they play board games and, have some wine like every night. So that's been hard for him. I have, I have a friend who is a dancer who lives in Berlin, who is having a hard time right now as a single mom. It's just interesting how, each of us, depending on like single with kids, I have a friend who's single, who's like, yeah, I hear all my friends talking about how hard it is to work with their families, but I'm jealous because I don't have anyone. And I know I'll be here by myself in my studio for a long time, and then you have, I have friends who have kids, little kids. Big difference between that and my situation with older kids, teens and preteens. It's hard to work. People haven't worked with their spouses who now are forced to work together. So, it's really interesting to see that, how every single one of us has kind of a different, we all have had different situations. And what's really interesting to me is that we're all kind of facing, in addition to our individual circumstances, problems, pains of the everyday, challenges, whatever. Now we're putting a layer of like common pain on top of common challenge,
Yeah. What's interesting, the only time I've ever experienced something similar was like the bad earthquake in California in the 90s. And it happened, and there was like a week where people couldn't go to work and it was weird going out to a supermarket, but it wasn't unsafe to go out to a supermarket. Yeah. It wasn't unsafe to say hello to somebody on the street. Yeah. So the plus side is we have power and we have water, which we didn't have during that, which was really hard. But it's really weird. Like I live in a neighborhood where you just constantly hear people walking by, and now you hear somebody out on the street and it's like, there's a person. Right. How far away are they from the house? The windows closed. Yeah. It's bizarre,
But what's also weird for us is that Amy and I both work from our respective houses. So in some ways I find personally for myself that this is not all that different from my regular life. My husband works at home too. We are used to spending a lot of time together. We eat all of our meals at home together. The only difference for me is I'm not going out to see clients. We're not doing interviews in person, which is why we started to do these lives. And so I kind of have been going through my regular day feeling a little more productive because not as many interruptions. And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh, wait, there's this huge, horrible thing going on outside my little world, Totally. And then the anxiety sets in, and it's like, oh God. But, it's a really weird mixture of like just normalcy and then this like looming.
Totally.
Yeah, it's interesting how many people in the comments, like Bonnie says she's lucky to have worked with her kids and her husband, and Lisa, our sister Lisa, who's on, says that It's a common challenge. Like we all lived through the blizzard of '78, which you probably haven't heard of, Ramona. But
No.
when we were little in 1978, there was this huge snowstorm in Boston, and literally when they plowed the streets, the snowbanks were probably 20, 30 feet high when they plowed the streets. And so they shut everything down in Boston and in the suburbs for a week.
Amazing. Yeah.
But you could walk around. Like Lisa, our sister Lisa, had a friend, Joyce Rogers, who was there the first day of the snowstorm. And then she had to stay. Oh, I have to stay at the Harringtons because of the blizzard of '78. But they would like walk to her house once a week, or once every couple of days. They'd walk to her house, but she'd come back. Like, oh, I have to stay at Lisa's because of the blizzard.
Yeah.
So it was like, we could walk to the grocery store.
So you had someone, right? Like someone was able to come and see you, right?
But we had to like take a sled to the grocery store, and like bring our groceries back on a sled because you couldn't drive. It was crazy.
But to be like an inmate, like in your house, it's the thing, right? So you can look at it as in like, I'm stuck here. You can look at it as in, I don't have to commute anymore, right? You can look at it as in, this is the end. Like this, can you imagine anything like worse? Right? Like anything where everyone is, and like looking at the facts, right? Because we all want to stay informed. You're looking at the data, you're looking at the stats of where this can go. And you're staying informed, and you're realizing that every single person on this planet, more or less, knows about this. But we all like are experiencing this. We're all basically have the same fears at this point. Like when was the last time, if ever, right? Because you have an earthquake. I was thinking about this. I'm like, when did I experience something like this? Like I was in Romania during communism, I was 17. Okay, so that was my world and all I knew. But now that I look back, it's like, well, yeah, I mean, you hear about a war, a revolution, about, things changing in a big way in another country, but it's like somewhere far away,
right?
Or there's a tornado, or there is like a snowstorm, or there's a fire, but all of these are like somewhere. They're like not here. And to just be kind of not able to like have dinner parties, not have people come, not have kids being here and not being able to go to school, it definitely is like a new reality. And what's really interesting to me, I mean, there are a few things that are really interesting to me, but like one is, how will this change us? Because I know from experiencing even those things that were big but not as big as this, I know for sure they have changed me. I have not come out the other way being like, oh, I'm the same as I was before. Like, right. Like we are all
like, give us an example. Like what's one of the biggest changes you've experienced based on something like this?
Well, so like in the past, right? Like, I mean, because I've been thinking about like, what were these events for me? So like, for instance, one was when, like the one I just mentioned, I was 17 and I was living in Romania and I was studying. It was December 22nd when the revolution officially started, and it ended like 3 days later, like officially. And I was studying to apply for college. And back then you would just take like this one big test at the end of 12th grade, and then you would pass or not pass to the one college that you applied. And the one that I was applying for to study economics, there were 3 subjects. I think it was math, geography, and what they called political economics. And all that was like basically speeches that you had to memorize. And I was like looking at that and I'm like, okay, that's probably where I want to go. But I cannot imagine memorizing those speeches. And it was already December, so I had like 6 months to go. And I'm like, I don't think I can do this. I can't. I mean, I can do the math part. I can even do the geography part, like learning all the maps and things and economic resources and things, but I can memorize.
Oops. Uh-oh.
Did we lose her?
Seem to have lost Ramona. Ramona, if you can hear us, I'm going to disconnect you and have you click back in. So, oh, did she move or my imagination? All right, Ramona, I'm going to disconnect you and you'll come back. Everybody else, stand by.
Stand by. While we're waiting for Ramona to come back, why doesn't everyone who's listening tell us in the comments what is the hardest thing for you right now? And also, what's sort of been the best thing to come out of this? I mean, we all have to find some positivity in this. So, and I think we all are. So what are you enjoying most about this? But what's been the hardest thing? And then when Ramona gets back, we can talk about those comments.
Yeah, and Bonnie has said that she gets fearful at times, and she says, "Thank God we're mostly rural, so she can get out and hike." And yeah, I mean, I'm glad for you guys that you have space around you, because that must be nice. But I can't imagine how hard it is to also be out in an area like that, and for you not to have Peter. I'm assuming Peter's still out on the road or going back out on the road. Her husband's a truck driver, so that's not fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lisa's saying in California they shut down the mountain trails that her husband was hiking on. So she's they've been keeping in. Hi Ramona, let me click you back in. And all right, we have Ramona back.
I am
Here
back.
we go.
Sorry, I don't know what happened there.
That's okay.
I could see you.
I think our internet is probably overtaxed because everybody's online
Totally
doing Zoom
true.
and
Right now.
Facebook and meetings and
It's middle of the day. Yes.
yeah.
That's one of the companies that is going to do well.
Aileen says,
yeah.
Aileen says the hardest part for her, the best and worst for her, is that her dog won't leave her lap.
I can relate.
Best and worst. Right, because we did ask people questions about that. So where was I when I got interrupted?
You were talking about how you were going to take the test and that you didn't have time to prepare for the speech part.
Right. And then the biggest change there, because we were talking about change, was that I didn't have to, because of the revolution. They took out that whole subject, so I didn't have to ever study it. So that was essentially how I got in.
That's interesting. So it was a positive thing at the end of the day.
Right. For me, yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, a lot of people are saying that, Zooming with their family. And our sister started this thing with our family, our sister Beth, where she's been posting old family photos, like the big family, our mother's Italian family. So all of our relatives, like of different generations, have been chiming in and commenting on it and saying, "Oh, that was my mother, and when that picture was taken, she slammed her foot into my father's. She like slammed her heel into my father's foot in the picture. That's why he has that expression on his face." And we're getting all this like family information from relatives that we haven't seen in decades. So that's been
amazing.
Really cool. If anybody has family photos, you should definitely do that with your family during this time, because it's so much fun. Even if you just take a picture of a photo and post it.
What a good idea. I love that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Who said my legs cramp, Amy? Is that Aileen from her dog?
That's legs cramp from her dog.
Yeah, Angus does that to me too. He sits on my lap all day, and then I go to stand up, and both of my legs are asleep, and I can't walk. It just like totally cuts off the circulation.
My dog is big. My dog's too big for that.
Yeah.
Diane Newman says she's been out walking more, trying to keep up a workout routine. That's the best. And the worst is just the unknown of how long this will go on, which I think something we're all.
Yeah.
I think that's really the biggest thing that I hear from my clients. And it's interesting with my coaching calls in the last few weeks, I didn't notice a big change. And I was expecting that people would want to talk more about this. It's really interesting, but it's always the intro. It's always talking about this, about the virus, and the new normal is always kind of the beginning of the coaching session. And then we always, interestingly, get back into really kind of the normal life. And, sort of like the everyday, even in this new normal, there's the everyday as it was before. There's like working with coworkers that you don't like, having to be, do a lot of work, be busy, thinking through what you want to do next, thinking what's important, your relationship. So it's interesting how, we kind of we start talking about the virus, and then we kind of get right back into our
Right.
day-to-day.
Yeah. Ramona, do you have like tools that you can offer to people to sort of get through this, get through some of the anxiety, find the positivity?
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely have a tool set. I call it my, like my first aid kit for myself. And I think everyone should have a first aid kit. It's just kind of like a toolbox that I found. Building your own toolbox is probably one of the best things that you can do right now, because we have the first aid kit, but what do we do as far as kind of our own mental state, emotional state? Like, how do we sort of monitor, right? And what do we do when we feel really down? One of my friends was asking a few weeks ago. I was really down. I can't even remember why. And she's like, "So tell me, what do you do? What's your thing? What do you do when?" So I'll share with you what I do in my worst times, maybe. And then I'll share with you a tool that I shared recently with people. There are a lot of tools, but I think this is a kind of a simple one that I think maybe everyone can relate to and practice. Okay, so I'll give you my first one. So what do I do for myself? Like, I'll just give you the worst case scenario when I'm really down. And maybe, for any one of us who sometimes kind of are really experiencing like, for me, I call it, I go into the dumpster. Like, I don't know why I call it that, but it feels like it is like totally deep down, and it's ugly and it's dark and I don't want to be there. Right. So what do I like in practical terms? And then I'll also give you kind of like my coaching tool that I use. Because sometimes you really need something super, super practical. And when we are, at least for me, when I'm in the dumpster, I really like, the first thing is I just recognize it. Like, okay, I'm not just gonna stay with this numbing pain. It's kind of like, my mom lives with us right now for a few months, and she has arthritis, and she's really feeling this like intense pain. So it's kind of like, first thing is like, okay, I'm not just gonna get used to this pain. I'm just gonna get up and do something about it. So that's one of the biggest changes that I've made over years, recognizing that right now I'm feeling really down. So kind of like really recognizing what's going on. Like, that awareness, I find it's probably one of the biggest changes that you can make, is just kind of being aware that you're right now, like, call it whatever you want to call it, but you're in that zone.
Right. And when you say get up and do something, is it get up and do something completely different to get you out of that headspace?
So I and this will be interesting I would love to know how this really does work for other people. I know for me, I have like different zones of kind of like gray zone, but I know when I'm in the lowest, like that I can really recognize. And so what I mean by that, for me, if I'm like really in the lowest possible energy, and really the way it feels is that we have no energy. It's kind of like depression, kind of that really low energy. So if I have enough energy, if I have just enough, then I'll go for a run. I'll do something physical. For me, running is the thing, or walking, whatever. If I have enough energy, but sometimes I don't even have enough energy for that. So then what I do, like the first thing that I do is I go lay down, and I'll have by my bedside, by my bedside, I have kind of like a stack of like my go-to books. That if I get into this, so it's preparation, right? It's kind of like your first aid kit. So I'll have there like 2 poetry books, and I know that that's gonna be like, maybe for some people it's a different book, or maybe it's something else. I don't know, but for me, that is reading poetry. So I'll go to one of my poetry books, and I'll read a couple of, and I've noticed how quickly, I was telling my friend, I was able to get myself out of this dumpster in like 15 minutes doing this.
Wow.
I mean, this used to last for me days sometimes when I was younger. I wish I knew how to do this before. So that's kind of what works for me. I go, if I have no energy, no energy, I'll go lay down, I'll get one of my poetry books, and I'll try to do some writing. Once I read a little bit, kind of like elevate, kind of get some perspective, just even a little bit of perspective. Then I'll journal a little bit about what I'm feeling. And if I'm really, really, really down, I'll just try to list all the things that I'm feeling right at that point that are really, that I'm like committed to burning that or throwing that away, so that I never worry that I will ever see it or anyone see it. You don't have to do this, but sometimes it helps to have like complete disconnect.
Yeah.
You know, so write down kind of all your worst fears, just like write it down there. And then I would do some meditation, some guided meditation. And I will tell you, if you just, for me, I do these 3 things, or I just go for a run and hopefully it's sunny. I'm right out. I'm out of the dumpster and I can function, and I can really then kind of, you know, addressing this, which is really a big deal. I think for all of us, it's just kind of addressing, really addressing what's happening right now. We're not going to let a baby cry. You know, we're not going to let, you know, our finger to bleed. We're not going to just let it, you know, be. We have to look at it. We have to just look at it, address it, be aware of it, and just like do something. So I would say, if you can create kind of like your toolbox, your first aid kit for your own dumpster moments, I would say that's a really good one that I wish I knew about before.
I love that.
A lot of people are telling us what they do.
I would love to hear.
Yeah, everybody tell us what it is that you do to get out of your dumpster moment. It's interesting. I went through a really long, prolonged, hard time with a work situation years ago, and I actually used to have 2 journals. And one I would write like my positive things in, and one I would just write like my deepest, darkest, most depressed, angry, whatever they were, thoughts. And I threw it out. I, ripped it up, shredded it, so that God forbid anybody knew what I had thought about them in that moment. But it was like, no one's going to see this, and I need to get this out of my head, or it's going to eat me alive. And but I didn't want it to mingle with my positive thoughts. I wanted it to be a completely separate thing. So I had 2 completely separate journals, and then, before I destroyed it, I went back and read what I had written, and it was like
torture.
No, it was just a great, Nancy and our mother are the kind of, our mother passed away, but they're the kind of people who, why are you worrying? Stop worrying. It's useless. It's a waste of time. And I'm a worrier, and I try and be less and less of one. But you go back and you read something like that, a year later, and it's like, who was, like sometimes I just write initials because I wouldn't want to write the person's name down. And it was like, who was that? What was I so upset about? And who was that person? I don't even know who that was, And so it was actually a great reminder of how useless and a habit, worry and anger and all those
rumination
are. And you just throw it out. And you feel so much better, and then you can look back at the positive journal and be like, "Oh yeah, that was great. I'm glad I did that." So it's interesting.
Yeah, I always say that worry is a wasted emotion. It's hard to not worry right now. Even I, Miss Pollyanna, as my family says I am. I worry now. I mean, it's hard not to. There's a lot going on, and it's real cause for concern. But I still try to just stay positive because, there's nothing that you can control. You can only control what you're doing yourself. So that's what I always try to do. I always try to be prepared. I always say to my husband, there's a big difference between being prepared and being worried. You have to be prepared. And so but those are positive steps you can take towards making what you're worried about not have that horrible result that you're thinking it might, So
it is that preparation is, I said to one of my clients recently who was really worried about her business. And I was saying, you can't be both prepared and really afraid. They kind of don't go hand in hand. Right. So, and these worries, I always think that our emotions, like they're insights, they're data. Like I'm a researcher. I'm like, that's data. It tells me something. So the question is, well, what is it telling me? And there are a lot of things that they're telling us. I think for one thing, the part that's really exciting to me is that it tells us what we care about. It's like, if you're ever wondering what my values are, the things that I really care about, things that are really important to me, people that are important to me, things that I wish I did. This is a good time to kind of see like, oh, right, I really care about this thing.
Yeah.
You know, what do I want to do with this?
Yeah.
You know, when this is over. Because the other thing is that, like in those dumpster moments, for me, what's really always true is that I kind of feel, or I tell myself, or I believe that things won't ever change.
Nice.
You know, and it's like, I know it'll change. There's no way this will stay the same. It might change for the worse, but it will change.
Everything always changes one way or the other. Yeah.
It will change. So,
and I feel like this is kind of like, who would have imagined this, as we said earlier? And this is, I know it's going to get worse. Everybody says it's going to get worse. So I'm looking at the whole experience and, you know, the peak of it as the worst. But even this, we're all finding things that are good in it. You know, our mother always used to say everything happens for a reason, and I never believed her. But even the darkest, worst things that have happened in my life, I can look back and realize what that one little shred of good that came out of it is.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. I think about this a lot. And I'm kind of embarrassed to say that sometimes, but I'm like, heck it, I'm just going to own it. I'm really excited about this, what this will bring.
Yeah.
I cannot begin to tell you like how many positive things, and I'm not just saying this. I mean, like, I talk to my husband about this every day. What do you think will happen? What will art look like after this?
Right.
What kind of books and art will be created? I mean, my husband's art is right here. Oh, wait, you can see like every day he's adding to this list.
Oh, I was curious about those. Wow.
Yeah, he just like adds to this. So it's kind of like,
so those are paintings?
these are like watercolors.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Beautiful.
and it's interesting because what he's interested in is really human connection, and it's all about like how we connect with each other in different ways. And now I'm like, hey, you're gonna start adding masks to that, or who knows what the new reality will be. But what new art? What new books? What new connections? What new like, I'm looking at the New Yorker, and for the first time, the New Yorker has table for two. It's like places you can get takeout. What to watch now? Oh, it's stuff on Netflix. It's like, wow, I feel connected. Like now it's not just for when I lived in New York. Now it's for everyone. So it's kind of like it's a historic time, both at a macro and a micro level. Like how, you know, like you just said, when I will look back, what will I notice that has been born in this time?
Yeah.
You know,
that's interesting. We keep selling this to people, but we heard Mark Cuban talking about the fact that, yes, it's a scary time, but you try and use it to come up with like a big idea. And he said, you know, we're going to look back in 10 years, we're going to look back at the things that came out of this moment and be like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that? Because people do have, you know, yeah, you can sit in a room and you can watch the numbers tick up, and we're all doing that to some extent. But I find if I get too into that, then I come back to, okay, what else can Nancy and I be doing to make this bigger, reach more people, and really, what other projects can we do as offshoots of this? And that's kind of my toolkit, is like, all right, this is a positive project. How do we focus on that? And that was his point too. Like, I have 3 or 4 friends already that have come up with ideas and gotten website URLs and are doing huge things that they didn't have time to do or the thought process to do 3 weeks ago. And
it wasn't urgent before. I find that in times like this, it becomes more urgent and it becomes more clear.
Yeah.
Like, I think every time our mortality comes into focus is when we start to see things more clearly. Yeah, I've had moments like that. I know you guys have had moments like that. Every one of us has had a moment or a few moments when kind of you really come face to face with mortality, and you can say, what does this mean? What does this really mean for how I'm going to live my life? Like tomorrow, today, I know my life has been changed in big ways. And I know it will bring more. I like to talk to one of my friends about the sense of like, there's a correction going on here. I think it's really obvious as far as like nature, right? And as far as like, for those who have believed that, kind of humans are not really impacting, global change, this will be the first time we actually have data for that. And we'll be able to, and that's just one example, but there's so many. There is a quote that I want to share with you guys that I had sent in a recent email. I have not done newsletters, so I just am starting to consider doing that. So I sent in this email, I had a quote that a lot of people resonated with, and I want to read it to you because I think it's really relevant to what we're talking about right now. And it goes, and it's by Joseph Campbell, and it goes like this. I'm going to read it. Everything in your life that seems to be obstructive can be transformed by your recognizing that it is the means for your transition. And this is kind of, obviously, is around the hero's journey and about the importance of those, really difficult times.
Yeah.
And how they can be really the means for our transition into the space that we really at the core want to go, are ready to go.
Yeah, we always say whenever we've had a major shift in our life, we always say the universe, we couldn't get there on our own, so the universe is kicking us in the butt to do it. This is like a universal example of the universe kicking us all in the butt to realize what's important. And
to slow down.
I want to share a quote that has been shared by one of our listeners. I'm going to see if I can put it up on the screen. This is from Aileen, who says, like Dad, our cousin Peter, always says, this too shall pass. It'll pass like a kidney stone.
It'll be painful. I have to find my computer charger all of a sudden. I'm realizing
I just had to do that too. While you're doing that, I'll read some comments from people. We had asked kind of what people are doing to get out of their dumpster moments.
I love to hear that.
Yeah, so Aileen says coloring zones her out right now, which is great. We have a lot of crafty fans on our group.
Love that.
Bonnie says she watches the latest updates and then she shuts the TV off and goes and does some crafting. Diane Newman Gray says, I listen to my favorite musical soundtracks, which is awesome. There have been a lot of great...
We need a list of those, Diane.
Yeah, totally.
I want that too.
I'm sure there's a Facebook thing going around with that on it. Yeah. Lisa says, I change my thoughts to something I like interior design or crocheting. Diane also does art. And if I remember correctly from the other day, I think Diane is learning to play the guitar and ukulele. Was that Diane the other day in the group? Let us know, Diane. Eileen says, I typically turn on Blue October or Breaking Benjamin. I don't know what those are, Eileen, so tell us what those are. Break out a wine bottle with a long straw along with her coloring book. And she sings at the top of her lungs, which we would like to see video of. Yes. And Bonnie, her mother says, the poor neighbors. Let's see. Diane says, is that the Baths of Bucharest? I don't know what that is. So
it's actually, that is, it's Budapest. Actually, it's, it's the Baths. It's the, what are they called? The Gellert, I think, Gellert Baths? No.
The painting behind you, is that?
Yeah.
Did your husband do that as well?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Really beautiful. Yeah. Good eye, Diane. Good eye. Aileen calls her dumpster moments
Oh,
curveballs.
I like that. That's better.
I like dumpster moments. I like them both.
And Diane has been doing paint by numbers, not the guitar and ukulele.
Oh, you posted one the other day. It was beautiful.
Really cool.
Yeah,
really
That's
cool.
So inspiring. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
So
I love all the creativity that's going on right now. Like, it's amazing how the art, the people posting, the singing online, all of these videos,
the dancing.
It's really so amazing. And I just love seeing it all. And I love the people who are saying, all of those of you who didn't think art was important, take a look at what's going on right now.
Absolutely.
It's what's getting us all through.
It is. It's scary. And my husband works at the MoMA, and they got noticed that everyone's on furlough like immediately a week ago. And I was just thinking, what will happen? I live in San Francisco, and I was thinking, what will happen to all the artists who already had a hard time, kind of paying the bills week to week, and so many of us are in that situation. So like, how do you, in practical terms, stay positive? So actually, one of the things that I've been thinking about, what can I do, right? As we think about like, when we, in the dumpster or right out of the dumpster, there's always kind of something that gets me out really of that, which is, kind of what can I do? Can I do something to help other people? And I've been thinking about, and interestingly for my business, I had 3 people recently last week who said, hey, are you going to do something? Because I'm really interested. Can you do some group coaching on something that's a little bit less expensive that you can also do with more people and kind of have more people in one place? And I'm like, oh yeah, I never did that, but I could do that. So I'm actually talking to a friend who works at Google, who's like, we have lots of things, but we can do something together. So I was thinking, wow, this is an opportunity I would have never thought, because I know, I do my one-on-one and all of that. But then I thought, what can I do to help the people like the artists, kind of like who have just lost their museum jobs, or so many nonprofits, right? Like all the nonprofits right now are on hold. So I was thinking that I'm going to take, for every group that I'm going to do for paid, I'm going to do one that's completely free for people who have just lost their jobs, or friends who have restaurant businesses, bars, artists, nonprofits, arts, you name it. I have a friend who's a dancer who's doing it's really hard for her right now. So there are lots of people who I think, like we can help in whatever way. There's something we can do. There is something, even if it is to give them the time of day, or give each other the time of day, or there's something we can do to help other people. There's like, and there's a lot of power that comes there, because I think we recognize that there's something we have that we can give.
Yeah, agreed. Well, let us know when you are doing those too, because we've started a resource page on our website.
Oh, cool. Okay, I will.
All sorts of things, from
this month,
financial stuff to things that people can do to fill their time, and mental health stuff. So let us know. We'll add it to the resource.
Absolutely. I would love to help. Definitely. I will let you know. It'll be this month. I think it needs to happen right now. I think this is the time, and I'm not ready. I don't have it all buttoned up, but I'm going to do it. And it's gonna help some people.
Yeah, well, that's why we started doing these, because we just felt like we knew all these incredible women like you, like Sashi Chandran, who's listening, who introduced us,
Hi, Sashi.
who, you guys you all have really positive stories, and you all have great attitudes, even though this hasn't been easy for anybody, and not for you guys either. And so we just wanted to have an opportunity for people to get to talk to you and experience you, because it just, we never have time to do these, and we've wanted to do it for a long time. And it's like, what can we do for our community at this moment, And so we were just like, we don't have any idea how to do this. As people who are watching will know, the first couple of times we were doing tests that we were like, I don't know if this is live.
I watched it. I liked it. It was live.
But it's just like, let's just do it, and people will forgive us for our mistakes, but we got to do the best we can.
It's very brave of you. Good for you. Because, every single one of us that does something that's like out of our comfort zone, and just wanting to do it, right? Wanting to get out, put ourselves out there, it inspires. This is a ripple effect, right? It is contagious, you guys. And you're inspiring me for sure to do one.
You always inspire us.
I know.
So I do have a tool. I don't know how we're doing on time. I do have a tool, my coaching tool that I share with my clients, that I thought that could be something that people can really use as well. I've seen it be used by people I coach. And also, interestingly, I included this in that email I mentioned. And, I had people who connected with me saying, I did that exercise. And I'm like, oh, okay, you did the exercise. That's amazing that people have interest and willingness to try new things. And one of my friends said that she shared it with a few people. So I'm like, okay, so there's something here. So I was thinking to share that. It's a very simple tool. And I think as all kind of powerful things, they can be really simple, something that we can remember to do. And you can put it, if you would like, if you think this can work for you, you can put it into your toolbox, which I highly encourage you to, your first aid kit, to create one if you don't already have one. Okay, so we call this tool, and this is something that I learned in my coaching school. It's called the AIR process, something that we can remember. It's AIR, and it stands for acknowledging, integrating, and releasing. Okay, so I mentioned earlier how, acknowledging our feelings is really, I would say, it seems to be probably, I don't know, the largest, kind of the biggest shift is probably in this stage, this first step of acknowledging, right? What am I feeling right now? And what I really like to think about here is not just what am I feeling, which we need that, but also what am I telling myself that makes me feel this way, right? So it's coming from like, okay, I'm acknowledging this fear of the unknown. I understand that my brain wants to have something specific, something certain. My brain loves, clarity. But right now, I don't have that clarity. I don't know where this is going. And, I worry, right? So whatever comes up, as far as what am I telling myself? So kind of acknowledging, what am I telling myself? What am I feeling is where I start. So I really encourage my clients to write about this. A lot of the time, we work in coaching sessions through this process as well. But it's really powerful. A lot of the work, just kind of like with workouts, it all happens sort of in between the coaching sessions is where the real power happens, is when you are with yourself and you have time and you take the time to write down, reflect, meditate. Journaling, I think, is a really powerful tool to, as I mentioned earlier, to just kind of like put it down there. What am I feeling? What am I telling myself? So the other thing that the next step is integrating. Like, how can I integrate this into what's really happening for me right now? So this fear, right? These kind of thoughts, this kind of story that I'm telling myself. How can I integrate this so I can put it to work, right? Because if I believe that everything that I feel and I think and I believe, it's here for purpose, or I can just give it purpose if it doesn't have one, what purpose do I want to give it? So if we can give it a positive purpose, or even if we can think about, an actionable purpose, what would that be? How could I put this whatever is making me feel fearful, how can I put that into action? Right. So if I'm afraid that I'm going to be losing my business, which a lot of us kind of freelancers, small business owners, or bigger business owners are going through, then what am I exactly afraid of? I'm going to be losing clients. Okay. What is it that I'm thinking? What story am I telling myself? Oh, I'm telling myself that everyone's going to be losing their jobs. Well, how true is that? So there's a process of kind of really reflecting and going into kind of following the thread, is how I like to think about this. I keep following this thread of fear, of whatever story I'm telling myself. Keep following that thread until you're done. Like, if you can, just journal as much as you can. Really reflect what's under, why is that a kind of what am I thinking that's making me feel this way? And eventually, through this writing process, through this integrating process into kind of like trying to integrate this into what can I do, is where I find this is a really cool, creative process. And this is how I came up, for me personally, with this group coaching idea. And seeing you guys doing this makes me think about like doing some live events on Facebook. So there is creativity that comes out of constraints. We know that. And so if I can think about then, how can I integrate this not just into my life, for me personally, my business, but then what about for other people? What about my community, my neighbors? What about kind of maybe the world, right? Like, how can I really elevate this and integrate it into my life? And then the third step, so acknowledge, integrate, and then the third one is release. How can I sort of release now this kind of negative, negative line of thinking, totally fine, right? To feel it and walk along it and integrate it and reflect on it as long as I need. If I need to stay there for like an hour, I'm going to stay there for an hour, for however long I need to stay. But if I want to stay less in that, then I can also release it sooner. I don't need to be kind of really attached to staying in the sphere. And that, I think, also means, reading less of the news. I mean, maybe set a time, like I'm going to read a little bit. I'm going to stay connected and be up to speed with my podcast or reading, whatever. But like, let's put that on the side. I don't need to stay in that space all the time, Then how can I now go into kind of releasing that fear and turning it around so that I can use that energy instead to kind of help me,
Right.
So acknowledge, integrate it, and then release it, because it doesn't have to be, my whole reality doesn't have to be just fear. There is a new reality that I can create through this process, and just accept it.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, it's really helpful.
Amazing.
I think that's so true. Yeah, and Lisa Barbosa says, yes, live events. So do more live events. We listening to you talk today reminded us of the interview we did with you, and talking about your happiness coaching work, and the concept, if I'm correct, that people who are happy tend to have a sense of where they're going and what their destination is. And it seems like this is an important time to kind of have that in your sights. Like we were talking about it a little bit earlier, but like, when this is over, where do you want to be? And where are you, what are you doing now to get yourself to that place? So it'd be interesting to hear what people who are listening, what they're like, if they could pick a destination, it could be physical, but conceptual destination for when this is done. Where do they see themselves? And I wonder where you see yourself at the end of all this.
Oh, that's a great question. For me, what seems to be, I'm observing, and I have my own coach, and I'm observing how whenever I talk about anything, it comes back to my book that I've been obsessively thinking about on and off, and it just doesn't seem to let go of me. So I think that's probably my destination in some way. Like I think it's something that it's going to, it keeps calling me. So I think I'm gonna do it. And I've been thinking about like this germination process of like, I've been pregnant with this book now for like 5 years. Maybe at some point I'm gonna like,
time to birth that baby.
I'm gonna birth that baby, because it's like growing and growing. I think that would be the thing. And this brings to mind this way that I've been thinking about happiness, which is not mine. It's from a professor called Tal Ben-Shahar, who I really follow and I really enjoy his work. And he's a professor of positive psychology, and he defines kind of happiness in these two dimensions. One is the short term, like right now, today, joy. And then there's a long-term dimension that you're just bringing up, which is kind of like where I'm going. And the way I think about this is that it's about joy and meaning, kind of like long-term meaning and short-term joy. And I think this is a great question I would love to hear how other people who are live right now, like, what is that long-term, the meaningful part of, because that brings us a lot of joy, right? Like thinking about the long-term and like kind of how we can make this everyday meaningful on the long term. I would love to hear what other people are saying about that.
Yeah. Well, Lisa Barbosa says living in a tiny house and that she's in contact with a realtor now.
Really?
Yeah, which we did not know. We'll have to hear more about that, Lisa Barbosa.
Nice. Cheers to that.
Yeah. Excellent. We went to a tiny house fest with Lisa. That was the last
human contact we had, I think.
Yeah. It was like a week before everything shut down. It was at that point where it was like, should we be around people? Oh, screw it. Let's go look at tiny houses. But, yeah. Anybody else have any long-term goals? We'd love to hear about them. Nancy, what's yours?
We are working towards making the Passionistas project world domination.
Awesome.
We just really want to spread this message more. I mean, and the upside of all this for us is we have more time to do it. You know, we still have clients, we're still working from home, but we're not commuting, we're not going out. So we really, all of that time we spend driving around and in our cars and chit-chatting with people, you know, that because we have to, because we're around them.
Not all of you. We love chit-chatting with all of you.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, you know, like in the lunchroom at a client's office where, you know, you have to be polite and ask about their kids. But, you know, we're just really looking forward to making all of these things we've been talking about for a few years now, like turning them into realities and, you know, having these, you know, virtual events, but also getting to the point again where we can have live events and, you know, letting all these wonderful people meet each other in person. And, you know, we're really looking forward to just expanding the Passionistas project.
I love what you're doing.
Thank you. We do too. I mean, it's our passion. It turned out to actually be the thing, even, you know, 2 years into it, that I don't want to do anything else, you know. Aileen has a good one. She says the last time she left her apartment was 3/19. So after all this, I'm getting my hair dyed, my eyebrows waxed, and going on a date with Jim.
Nice.
Love it.
Sounds like an awesome goal.
Yeah.
Well, that's an interesting thing too, is just like, you know, as freelancers, I think we're all kind of used to like how our day blends together between professional and personal time, but people who aren't necessarily used to that, like defining time, like my boyfriend and I now, it's like every Friday we're trying to not schedule too much even during the day, so that Friday night is our inside date night. So even though we can't go see a movie out in the world, we're gonna just connect and spend that time together on Friday nights. But I think it's really hard for people who have not been freelancers before to even start to get their head around, like, how do you separate the day and the days when they all start to kind of blend together in one.
You don't know what day it is. My husband asked me the day before. I said, "It's like, is it Saturday?" Nope, Tuesday.
Yeah, we're constantly forgetting what day it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I do that normally anyway, but not really fun.
Honestly, I think that's the thing that's scary for me sometimes. I mean, except that I do have like meetings and so on, but sometimes I'm like, really? This isn't that different for me. What does that say?
Yeah. I know.
Yeah, lots of people are talking about like how they have sweatpants on all the time. I'm like, that's why I became a freelancer.
That's me every day.
I work in my pajamas and lay on my couch while I was doing it. So welcome to our world, everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
I think a lot of people aren't going to want to go back to not working.
That's honestly one of the things, you know, as I'm brainstorming with my husband, like our favorite subject these days is like, how is this going to be different? And one of the things will be like, people are gonna, you know, start to see that that maybe all those empty buildings right now downtown, they're still burning electricity at night. That kills me. No one's there. Turn off the lights. Anyway, so we're thinking about how a lot of people who have been commuting an hour and a half to work every day each way, how you know, they're going to be like, oh, look at this. This is working.
Yeah.
How often do I actually need to do that? And do I need to do that? And is there another way? You know, so
that's right. Yeah. I think we are going to see that. I think we're going to see the more people start telecommuting because we just proved that we can.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then also I think appreciating seeing people face to face.
Yeah, I can't wait. There's so many people. I can't wait to hug them again.
I know.
Is that going to happen again?
Oh, God, I hope
that
so.
too. We certainly aren't going to ever shake hands again. That's going to be an antiquated thing that I don't think we're going to ever get back to.
Isn't that something? It will change, right? Our connections will change, will evolve. They will definitely evolve. My kids are saying how much they realize how much they love school. You know, they're home now. And it's not learning, though, that they're missing.
Yeah, right.
They're still learning technically, right? They're still doing online classes and stuff, but it's the kids.
Kind of, sort of. Well, they're on vacation actually this week officially, although it's not that different than last week. But I think seeing their friends, seeing people in person, I think it's going to be so amazing to just, like I had one of my friends came by and she's like, I'm just going to wave to you from downstairs. I'm like, I'm not from downstairs. We'll keep our 6 feet apart. But how much we appreciate that and seeing the kind of people that we're missing and who's important to us is, really cool.
Yeah. Our nephew is turning 18 this weekend, and in lieu of a big party, his grandparents are going to come over and stand in the front yard and wave at him, and it's so sad, but it's also so beautiful that means something,
Right. Right. Yeah. We realize how important all these things are, and like going out to a restaurant or you realize how much we have interacted with each other physically before, and how interesting it is to like not have that, take that out of the equation, and how I'm imagining how much more we'll be appreciating, I think, people, people who we feel good around, especially to be physically in their presence.
I also think appreciating even the people we don't know. Like I had in recent years really tried to push myself to get more out of my comfort zone and like talk to people when I'm in the line at the grocery store and things like that. And it enriched my life more than I would have imagined before this. But I think just the way we're going to interact with each other when this is over, at least for a period of time, is going to be really nice. I think, we're going to be so grateful when we go. There's a Trader Joe's by us that a couple of years ago, there was a shooting in the Trader Joe's. And ever since then, this Trader Joe's where people are usually like really focused and getting their groceries and kind of pushing around each other. It's been this really great little community, this Trader Joe's, ever since then. And I think it's going to be that on a bigger scale when we're done. Like, okay, I don't need that can. You grab that can. I'll wait a minute and not, be more respectful of each other, more appreciative of each other, even strangers,
Yeah, completely agree. And I also can't wait for I don't know when the official date will be, like even when this whole thing is over, I'm sure we'll be kind of a little bit, like you said, maybe more careful with like shaking hands and things like that. But like, can you imagine all the dinner parties and
parties in the street?
Can you imagine?
Apparently there's being planned in Mexico, I think, in 2021. That's going to be like reuniting all these bands that
really
together, or bringing in old members of like the Rolling Stones who haven't played with the original members for decades, and they're expecting like 1 million people.
Wow.
In this concert.
I just think about all the festivals that are scheduled to happen later in the year, and I'm just like, those better happen. Because all the spring ones are canceled. So thinking like, I can't wait.
It's gonna be fun.
I think it's hard. One other thing I was going to mention for those of us who are parents is kind of how do you talk about this with our kids?
Yeah, that would be great to talk about.
Yeah, like my kids are both, so they're 16 and 12, and they each have their own way to think about this and worrying about this. My older one told me yesterday that she's really stressed out. My first question was like, "What are you stressed out about? You're home. You don't have homework. And then later she told me, I was really hurt when you said that. Why am I stressed out? She's like, what do you mean, why am I stressed out? Because I think for me, I'm just assuming that they're still kind of like, they're not aware. It's all about their head. And it's interesting that they are like, no, I am stressed out about this thing.
Yeah.
I'm not able to see my friends. I'm not able to go to the beach and, see my friends, hang out with them. I'm not able to have sleepovers. Like, this is a big deal. My younger one is like, well, I can't do volleyball with my team. I can't do track. I can't, have sleepovers. I can't go shopping. Okay. But, like their day to day, can't go swimming, can't do anything. My husband's like, when are we going to be able to go camping? He's researching right now, places to go camping right now. And I'm like, I don't think we can go right now anywhere because this was our week to be in spring break and we were going to be in Hawaii. And so how do we talk to our kids? So one way that I'm trying to is to just kind of really be aware that they have their own worries, that they're actually that they are in touch with people, that they are on social media nonstop right now, as much as I don't like it. But they are constantly, they're aware and talking about what this means for them.
Yeah.
My younger one's like, oh, do you realize, Mommy, school's only starting in August again? I can't, So how do we talk about this? So one, kind of acknowledging and letting them talk about it. I think it's really good to just kind of give them a chance to just express their own worries for whatever that means for them. And the other thing is, I tell them, hey, this is the first time you're experiencing something like this.
Right.
You haven't experienced this. You haven't. I remember the first time when I experienced this, I was 17. You're younger than me. You get to see this. And then there's a chance also to talk about mortality, which is also coming up a lot more. What happens when we die? My younger one is asking, what happens, if you were to get sick and die, like what would happen then? And I just kind of, it's a chance for us to talk about this, and to just kind of, we talk about the continuum of life.
Right.
We talk about kind of like, how, I said to my younger one, well, how do you think we loved each other so much when we saw each other? Don't you think that we, it wasn't the first time we saw each other. Don't you think so? Just kind of to see what comes up, when we bring things like that, just kind of see how they think about it. Yeah,
it's interesting. And I also think, not a parent, but just in general, in any relationship that we're in right now, like acknowledging that whatever the stress thing is for each person, it's as significant to them as our stress is for us.
Yes.
Like I remember after our mother passed away, people would know our mother passed away, so we'd be talking and they'd complain about they got a flat tire, whatever it was.
Yes.
And then they'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry.
Right.
I know that what you're going through is worse. And it's like, not for you,
Totally.
like having a flat tire sucks and that's really stressful. And I get it. And I think, whether it is going to the mall or worried about money or upset because you can't walk down the store to see, the corner to see somebody, like every issue that every one of us is going through right now is valid. Yeah. And so letting people know that, so they're not just keeping it in because they think it's stupid, I think it's really important too.
Yeah, you can compare. Yeah. You can compare what other people go through.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hate to say it because I feel like we could just sit all day. And
we can talk.
It's nice talking. I know. It's nice talking to you. I know. I'm so glad that we're
It was really, really great.
Yeah, we just love you, Ramona.
Having you.
Love
You're
you.
amazing. And we're and this is a good segue. We're really grateful to Sashi for introducing us, and we want to let everybody know that next Tuesday at noon we will be doing one of these with Sashi Chandran.
Yay! She's amazing.
I think it's safe to say for everybody on this chat is our hero.
Yes.
And he's a powerhouse and one of the kindest people we've ever met. So generous of spirit.
So supportive.
Yeah, so we're excited. You should all tune in to Sashi. And if anybody has any other questions, I'm sure Ramona will come back later and look at comments if there's anything you wanted to ask her or message her, anything private that you wanted to ask her. And also, we're doing these at noon on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but if you guys have any opinion on a time that's good for you, that you'd prefer, we want to kind of get the pulse of everybody that's been listening and see what your thoughts are on that. And Ramona, what's the best way for people to find out more about what you do and to get on your mailing list so that they don't miss any inspiring pieces of information that you want to pass along to your followers?
Thank you. I think my Facebook page is the one probably that I'm the most active, and Instagram. So my Facebook page is, and they're both Ramona Harvey Coaching. On my Facebook, let me see, what do I call it? Yeah, it is called Ramona Harvey Coaching. How to live a happy, meaningful life. And then the same handle, Ramona Harvey Coaching on Instagram. I post the most there. I'm about to start a newsletter, so that's going to come as well. But I do post quite a bit. I try to stay connected on Instagram and Facebook.
Cool. And once Ramona has her email list up and running, or email blast up and running, we'll share that in the group so that people know how to sign up for it.
Okay. Awesome.
And
Excellent.
we really appreciate everybody being here. We totally, it means a lot to all of us that you're all there.
Yes.
We think about you all the
Yeah.
time and wish you good health and happiness. And we appreciate your participating in these. And Nancy, what else?
Yep. Stay calm, stay healthy, stay safe, stay home, stay positive. Love
Thanks,
you all.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Ramona.
Happy
Bye,
Thursday.
Ramona. Happy
Bye.
Thursday. It's Thursday, right?
Yes.
Thursday.